weekend for the 11th annual NNSCRA Daytona 500 begins here with opening practice. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to Daytona International Speedway as we get ready here for the practice session for the drivers that are currently at this point not locked into the 11th annual running of the Great American Race. There's a total of 28 drivers that are going to be vying for 15 spots in this event, which means 13 of them will be going home. This is their last opportunity to be able to tune their race cars before we get ready for group qualifying, and I'll be laying down the ground rules and everything of what you can expect for this weekend as we observe this practice session, as well as introduce you to some of the drivers, some of them returning and some of them making their Snickers Cup Series debut. We're actually going to jump to a driver that we have already seen in Snickers Cup Series competition. There he is, number 83, Jonathan Zorling, running the, I believe it's Dustless Blaster is the sponsor on that Toyota Camry out of Burger King Racing. These drivers are gonna, I don't know if they're gonna be focusing more on single car runs or if they're going to try and get into a pack. This is going to be a very unusual Daytona 500 weekend in that we're going to be doing something we've never done before. These drivers will be doing group qualifying. And especially here for these drivers that are not locked into the Great American Race, what it will be is a 10-lap session. And the top 8 that have the fastest laps, they will make it into the Great American Race via time. There are 27 drivers up to this point that are locked into the Daytona 500 based off of being inside the top 35 in points after Season 10 of the Snickers Cup Series. 28 drivers are in this field trying to get, as I said, 15 spots that are available in the Daytona 500. 8 drivers will make their way in via speed during the group qualifying session, and 7 of them will make it in via the Budweiser duels. You also have to keep in mind, though, there are a couple of teams out there that did race in the Snickers Cup Series last season that could, via owner points, via the opportunity to buy owner points from a team that did finish in the top 35 in points last season, to make it into the race, including Charles Jackson, Kyle Matthews, Levi McIntyre, DJ Curtis, Dylan Young, James McLeod, and James Silverfox. If those drivers do not make it into the Daytona 500 via speed and group qualifying or in the Budweiser duels, they can fall back on those owner points. So they're almost practically guaranteed to make the show. However, there is a bit of a penalty if they do have to fall back on owner points to make the Great American Race. That would mean that they would forfeit any good starting spot in the Daytona 500. They would start at the rear of the field. That would also include they would have to start behind any backup cars that there may be during the course of this weekend from drivers being involved in wrecks. So they're practically guaranteed a spot in the Daytona 500, but they may end up having to pay a bit of a price in order to do it, unless they can make it in via speed or in the upcoming Budweiser duels. Fastest on track right now, right there, the 13. That is a debuting driver, rookie William Brock. Oh, and there's a spin up the head. There's some smoke. And that looked like that might have been the 11. Looks like the 11 car spun. That's Aaron Henderson making his Snickers Cup Series debut. We're going to go through the field, show you every driver that's racing here to try and make it into the Great American Race. There's Trek Togger, former driver of the Snickers Cup Series, back after a lengthy reprieve, driving the Aaron's Dream Machine for Michael Waltrip Racing. Just ahead of him there is another driver who's been in Snickers Cup, James Shelley, driving the 34 for Front Row Motorsports. You see the smoke still lingering there from the spin by Aaron Henderson. James Shelley had his rookie season back in Season 9. Up ahead there is Kyle Matthews, driving the number 42 Mellow Yellow Chevrolet this season for Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Kyle Matthews, one of those 7 drivers, as stated, that can get into this show via speed or the duels, or else he'll have to pretty much fall on a owner points provisional to get in. Just ahead of him, Liam Ervig makes his return to the Snickers Cup Series, driving the 41 car. Trying to remember the last time Liam Ervig was in Snickers Cup Series season. I think it might have been season 7. Just up ahead of them, James Silverfox driving the number 9 for Richard Petty Motorsports. Silverfox right now 24th fastest on the racetrack at this current point in time. Rohit Arvu makes his return to the Snickers Cup Series, driving the number 20 car. Just ahead of him, Ian Dutta also makes his return to the Snickers Cup Series, driving the DirecTV Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. There's Dylan Young. Finds himself in a very unusual position here, having to try and qualify his way into the Daytona 500. That team had a very struggling season last year, could not make it into the top 35 in points. Kean Eddington, a rookie this season for Stewart-Haas Racing, just now making his way onto the track. There's another Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry. Armando Chazaz. And the number 19, right now running by himself. He'll be racing in a pack of 27 other machines during Group Q. Tractogger was just on pit road. There's Zach Flickinger. We're watching him now make his way off of pit road as he'll come back onto the track. So far 23rd fastest for the Golden Corral Ford Fusion out of Front Row Motorsports. These drivers are in a nice tight pack here. See maybe if they can make some headway. There's the first car that was on track. Alex Tanker makes his return back to the Snickers Cup Series. And the number 15 Toyota Camry out of Michael Waltrip Racing. However, he was the first on track for this session, but he's 27th out of the 28 drivers in speed. Just ahead, DJ Curtis. DJ last season had a victory in the Snickers Cup Series Season 10. But he was outside the top 35, which made him ineligible from making the chase. Trying to make the Great American Race here in his second season, if you will, in the Snickers Cup. Here's Aaron Henderson. I think they had to bring the backup car out for the Sports Clips number 11. There's the skid marks right there from his previous spin. Right now running 26th fastest with that backup machine. There's Eddington just ahead. Is the 78 car of Simon Solera. The Wonderbred number 78 out of Furniture Row Racing. Right now 19th fastest on the scoring charts. Another driver making his Snickers Cup Series debut is the number 16 of Dallas McIntosh. Driving for Roush Fenway Racing. Just ahead, James McLeod, former Daytona 500 winner in this series. I want to say it was season 4 when he took the checkered flag. But James McLeod trying to make the Great American Race here for Tweenix Racing. Just ahead of him, John Arndt, who just recently ended up winning an NNSCRA event in the Royal Rumble. Oh, trouble! Just got into Charles Jackson! And here comes oncoming traffic, but both of them are able to save it. Both of them up into the wall. Charles Jackson in the 54, John Arndt in the 01. That was some pretty significant damage for both of those drivers, and they may be forced to back up machines, which is tough for both of them. They had some pretty good speeds. John Arndt was 4th fastest, and Charles Jackson, former Snickers Cup Series champion, was 8th fastest on the scoring charts. There's the fastest car on track at this point. 23 Toyota Camry out of Burger King Racing, Noah Pontzer. There you see the smoke from the contact between John Arndt and Charles Jackson. I don't know if maybe James McLeod was involved or not. No, it doesn't look like it. Right now behind Kean Eddington, who we saw earlier coming on track. So far, though, the slowest car in this session. 28th fastest. Fastest lap of 36.234. Only the top 10, they've hit the 35s. Matter of fact, 25 of the 28 drivers have reached the 35s. The only ones that haven't are Alex Tanker, the backup car of Aaron Henderson, and the car we're currently looking at, Kian Eddington in the 39. Luis Hernandez makes his return to the Snickers Cup Series as he follows the 29 of Zachary Fitzwater, also making his return to Snickers Cup down pit road. Those two have been working together for the past couple of laps. Fitzwater so far 5th fastest on the charts. Luis is currently 11th fastest. Charles Jackson appears that they have brought the backup car out for the 54. The 8 car is back on track this season. I think the last time that the 8 car was on track in a Snickers Cup Series event, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but I think it was Isaac Canepa. But this is not Isaac Canepa, this is Tony Green. And the number 8 machine making his Snickers Cup Series debut, battling right now with Jonathan Zorling, and wow, nice crossover move there by William Brock. Just ahead there, the 38 out of Front Row Motorsports, debuting Emmanuel Hartnett in the pedigree Ford Fusion. It looks like Zorling will come to pit road. Elijah Gordon making his debut into the Snickers Cup Series for Roush Fenway Racing. Right now 17th fastest on track. Fastest lap, a 35.658. I think this may be the last driver that we need to introduce, but certainly this driver needs no introduction. Former Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 winner Levi McIntyre has to race his way into the show. Right now, 3rd fastest on track for the number 99 out of Roush Fenway Racing. When Levi McIntyre won the Daytona 500, he did it in the number 60, which was at that time also a Ford Fusion, for his own team at the time, which was Heavy Metal Motorsports. Dylan Young has jumped up to 2nd fastest on the charts in this nice pack of cars, with Alex Tanker, Armando Shazaz, Kyle Matthews, Ian Dutta, and the current fastest car on track right now, Noah Ponser. Track conditions appear to be a bit slick here as the drivers seem to ride up in turns 1 and 2 a little bit. That could play a factor because right after this session, they'll get an opportunity to bring their cars down, try and cool off the motor, and within a half an hour, they'll be back here on track for qualifying. Group qualifying, the first time we're ever doing it here in Snickers Cup Series competition. Should be interesting. Of course, right now, we do not have a 28 car pack, so speeds may not mean very much. But then again, they could mean who's got the fastest car in the draft. Right now, it would be Noah Ponser. He's top board. Dylan Young 2nd. Jonathan Zorling 3rd. 4th, Levi McIntyre. And John Arndt right now in 5th. However, that may be the speed from his previous machine. I'm pretty sure that 01 team had to go to a backup car. And more trouble! Dylan Young, Noah Ponser, Ian Dutta. And Dylan Young, Noah Ponser, let's keep in mind, were the fastest 2 on track to this point. Noah's trying to get the car refired. Brings it right back up the racetrack, and oh my goodness, almost was hit by oncoming traffic. Oh, this is not going to be a good situation here either. DJ Curtis, Trek Togger. They're all going to get through it though. Charles Jackson there with Aaron Henderson and Simon Solera. So the top 2 on the charts are now damaged goods. And they're going to have to get the backup car with only about 10 seconds remaining in this session. That is amazing. So I'm assuming during Group Q, the 23, the 2, the 01, the 54, and probably the 07 are all going, and probably the 11 car as well, are all going to have to go to backup machines. Boy. Just shows you're not safe anywhere. Waiting for the practice session to be official. Noah Pontzer, this was with his primary car, a 35.406, almost a 35.4 flat. Dylan Young, not too far behind with a .417. Jonathan Zorling, Levi McIntyre, John Arndt were the top 5 fastest, followed by Gordon, Shazaz, Fitzwater, Matthews, and McLeod. If you look at that, Young, McIntyre, Matthews, McLeod, those are 4 drivers that could fall back on owner points to get into the show, but right now looks like they may be able to do it via time in Group Q. We will find out drivers, same time that you do. Cars. As the drivers are being called to their machines, we're getting ready for group qualifying here for the Great American Race. Don't go away, that's next on tap here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel, Offline Racing at its